Hey, so sorry, I had to go get my order. Mailman, Santa Claus came early for me today. Look what I found, what I bought. It's one of the original relays, brand new. Got another one. It's new, but it's not original. We'll talk about this later. But okay, now where were we? I said that these two move together. Okay, so yeah, once again, these two, they're always moving together. Okay. Now, what may or not happen is the outer gears, these little gears, they may or may not turn, and all that all depends on the position of the sun gear. See, if it's outside like this, then the outer gears, they turn, or conversely, they turn. The whole pinion cage turns around the sun gear. Okay, and that's what the overdrive is. But you see that this happens because it's got this slot all around in the middle, and that slot, it stays in between these teeth here, right? Because if the actual teeth of the gear are on these teeth, then it doesn't move, you see. But if the slot is right there in the middle, then it moves. Okay, so that yeah, one more thing. So those are the basically the only positions that you have in the transmission. So you see, it's not complicated at all, but it's just that there's a lot of things going on, and you'll see why. So this either moves in or out like that. You can see that once I put it there, it's not able to go past there any further. It's not going to come out completely like that. Furthest it goes out, furthest it moves, is to the point where this is in the middle like this. It won't go even further to the point where this last set of teeth here are the sun gear are locked in with the teeth on the pinion cage here. Okay, so I think we got that. I'll show you in just a second the position of these. Now the other thing is, you see that it's got a it's got this shift rail here, okay, and what goes on it is the shift rail gear, I guess, whatever the fuck you want to call this gear. But the shift rail here, this is the shift rail, goes on it like that, you see, and this is what pushes it in or out. Okay, like that or like that. And the way that this goes is it goes right here. Sorry, oops, wrong way. There's a hole on it for it to go on this little guide here. It goes underneath the lock paw. The paw. No, lock paw. It's the paw. You can see that it fits, pretty loosely in there. There's a lot of play, provided the actual gear. These gears are not on it here. So. Now let's analyze the shift rail. See that it has a thicker part here? See? This here, then it's thinner here. Okay, the reason for that is, you'll see that on the Apollo, there's a rounded slot here. See, it's rounded right where my finger is. So what happens is, once I remove this plate here, this retaining plate, it'll be easier for you guys to see. But what happens is, no, I'll leave that for later. But the point now, what I want to show you guys now is that this is mechanical, okay? It's not connected to the pawl. The only thing that is electrical here is the solenoid, okay? I mean, forget about the relay, and we'll talk about that later. The only thing that's on the transmission that's electrical is the solenoid. That's the only component. This transmission does not have the lockout switch. We'll talk about that later as well, but it's not important, not really important. But so the only thing that this does is it moves forward and backwards like this. And if the sun gear is there, like so, then all this does is it moves the sun gear in and out. Okay, in and out, like that, which causes the pinions to lock or to release. Okay, so that's all this does, in and out. And you'll see that there's only one thing that controls this, and it's the that shift lever, the overdrive shift lever. Okay, so in and out, that is all it does. It either locks the pinion gears, these little planet gears, or it lets them loose. Okay, so I think now we can move. I can go ahead. Oh yeah, before I open that up, I want to show you guys how far this goes. Okay, it goes just enough for it to be meshed constantly with the blocker gear. That's what I'm calling this gear that I'm moving here. Okay, and I'll show you just a second. So I'll put the sun gear back on here. Splines. There we go. Right. Now, look at the end, look closely at the end shaft here. And there's a really precise slot for this U-joint to go on. I'm not actually going to put it, like, I'm just going to put the end of it in the slot, so. Okay, but you'll see that if it's sticking out a little bit, you see the gear, the clutch gear is sticking out a little bit in terms, like it's not flush with the end of the main shaft. And while that is happening, you'll notice that the like here, that everything turns freely. But more importantly, let's see if I can get close up there. Notice that the blocker gear, it's not turning. The blocker gear here. Okay, so I'm turning the everything else here. That blocker gear is not turning. However, I can't put the ring in here like this, the snap ring. So in order for it to get into its proper place, it has to go in a little bit further. Now that tiny bit further that it goes, it's only about, man, I'm gonna say 3 millimeters or so. No, it's really little. It's enough to cause that sun gear to be into contact with that blocker gear. And you see that now if I turn things, it turns as well. And you can hear that side to side clicking. Okay. There's that, and it's moving. Obviously, if I move it all around, it's going to move it together, you see? It doesn't matter which way I go, clockwise or counterclockwise, doesn't matter. Now that is the farthest the sun gear will go. If I push it in, it just goes further in to the gear. Say I pushed it in. If I push it out, no matter how far out I pushed it, you see it's maximum. It's already touching the teeth on the pinion cage and that little shift ring rail. It's touching the face of this, so it won't go that way. It won't go that way anymore. And so you see that it's only a bit, it's only a little bit of contact that it has with the blocker ring, but it is sufficient to turn it with it. So, here comes the important point from this. This sun gear, the sun gear, it's always in contact with the blocker ring. Okay, it doesn't matter if I push this back in or push this back out. Okay, towards the back or towards the front, doesn't matter. It's always in contact here with the blocker. I think it's called blocker ring. I think that's what it's called. It's always into contact. Now, yeah, I think I'll disassemble this so that you can see. It'll be easier for the explanation of the next part. So this is one of the most, I know I'm right now I'm explaining basically what each of the components does separately, but this is kind of like a puzzle. Okay, so I have to look at each individual component to see what they do, in conjunction together. Right? Because if I just were to show you guys, it would be a really quick explanation. This does this, and this does that, and this does that, and just tell you like that, then you get just an incomplete explanation of what's really going on, and you can't actually see what's going on inside there. Okay, so by carefully analyzing each aspect, we can understand how this works together. And so I'll just end this video here, and I'll continue with the second part once I disassemble it. Actually, I'll just let you guys watch me disassemble it. I'll stop at 15 minutes. Okay. Oh, shit. Really is quite easy to remove. And that there's two little ears. And there's just a big ring. And just get a set of pliers. Small vice gripping pliers. So actually before, let's just do a recap, okay? Sun gear is this one, moves in and out of the pin and cage, which causes the gears to lock. When it's moved in, it twists itself, twists out, which then allows either one of them to turn. If you hold one of them, and the other ones must turn. Okay, holds the other one, then the other one must turn. Okay, sort of thing. These are the pinions, pin cage. They're both splined onto the main shaft, which therefore means that, unless you're in neutral, then everything is turning. It doesn't matter what speed you're at, right? Everything is turning. Okay, with the main shaft. The main shaft moves, these two move. The clutch gear and the clutch roller gear, just one gear. And the pinion cage, planet gear. Here, okay. There's three of them in this case. Some of the most heavy-duty applications. The R11, same as this, but it just had 4 of them instead of just 3. Okay, that's for like really, really high-end application like trucks. Okay. Okay, so yeah, the shift lever here moves in and out, which causes the sun gear to turn in and out, towards the front, towards the back. The pawl right in there moves in and out to lock this gear here in the middle. I'll show you what I mean. Here's my set of vice grips. Either the top or the bottom, doesn't matter. You don't really have to press really hard. It comes out fairly easily. It's mine, shit that it might snap in your face. So. Hold it for my hand just to get a better grip there. Just tighten it a little more. You do have to push it down. It's not an outward movement. Okay, push it down onto itself so that it, so that you squish it. I tend to push them down, not outward, okay, not just outward, a little bit outward, but you get mostly down, like onto itself. Side. Okay, just try. I don't like balancing this transmission. The other one, just get a block of wood. It's inclined. I don't like it. Yeah. Damn. Well, see this big ring here just snaps out. You'll see that it has this like a little pan. And this is for the oil, okay? It actually goes right between the gears pretty much. Okay, now we go into the interior. And then you can actually see exactly what's happening. Transmission should get a better picture. That's a little better. Okay. Let's try that. There we go. Okay, so there's the horn-shaped piece there, you see? Right now, the solenoid is like the solenoid, no, sorry, the pawl. Let's see, here's what's happening. Here. Now, if this pawl, let's wait for the piece of shit to zoom in. The pawl is actually right between this here, and you see it's got a little space, and you can move it in and it'll go okay. It's not going in now because the snap ring moved in the wrong place. See, there's the, just zoom out, show you how this works. Here's the rear view. Okay, you see these slots? here's the horn-shaped ring. And you'll see that it moves around. And the manual actually gives, you know, it's not supposed to turn around freely like you see. You tap it with your finger and it spins. It's not supposed to be like that. It's supposed to turn around, but with, you know, good amount of, you know, friction. Right? So it does turn around. See that the pawl, it actually matches perfectly the this shape here. See on the back, here's the back. Obviously it's the opposite inside. This goes towards the inside. So you might as well just give this a quick clean. See, that's the thing. See the gasoline, even though I just let it soak a long time and oil and diesel, still a little bit of dirt there. There we go. Just a little. So if the this horn-shaped ring and you'll see that it's a lot bigger than the shaft. You see, it won't actually touch the shaft at all. It doesn't turn, doesn't do anything, just stays there in the middle. I mean, it does turn. How can I say this? The only thing that causes this to turn is, remember, the sun gear. Okay, I'll show you just different views and different aspects. But right now, you see the horn ring is there. And right in between, the space is just perfect so that the pawl is able to push in. Okay. Now the idea is, if the sun gear is moving, remember the sun gear I just showed you, it's always meshed with these gears. So as long as the sun gear is moving, and this is moving like this, I mean now it's locked, but this is moving like that. Now you'll see that the horn gear, it'll always stay around the pawl. And this is very important. If, for whatever reason, you remove the pawl and you put the pawl back and the horns are on the other side, you know, now they're not around the pawl, then you'll have problems on the transmission. So this, just be very careful that you don't do this, okay? Very careful. Also, common mistake, which I personally did, even though I told myself not to do it, is you put the pawl in like the other way, like that. And you know, if you pay close attention, it's pretty foolproof, but you just got to pay attention in this case, because there's a slot here. You see, there's a chamfer right there, rounded chamfer, and it's supposed to go over, you know, that hole there. There's a hole here. Just fit perfectly over the hole. If you put it in the wrong way, let's say I put it in like that. Okay. Then when you put the shift rail doesn't go in properly. See, it doesn't go in at all in this case. In my other transmission, the T96, it unfortunately did go in, but twisted. Here it won't go in at all. You see? So it is 100% foolproof. So if you're struggling, you're just, what the fuck? Why doesn't it go in? You know, it's probably because of this. See that this chamfer here fits just perfectly around the chamfer on the shift rail there. You see? Now, and I'll just illustrate this to you now. If we push the solenoid in like that, which pushes the pawl, then it's locked now. The shift rail is now locked. If on the other hand you push the shift rail in first, then it's also locked. No, sorry. Hang on. I'll best show it to you guys in there. Just fool myself here. Okay, so those horns, just make sure that those horns, they never let go of the pawl. You see, they're always around it. Yes, the inner part turns, you know. See it turning like that. It does turn with significant force. The manual says exactly the amount of force. If yours is loose, then you probably have a problem as well. I doubt that you find one that is loose, but maybe you might. Now what they also used to do is if it got loose, they just clamp this and tighten it a little more. So pretty darn good. Okay, but let's put the sun gear here so that I'm able to turn it. Okay, remember the sun gear, it's always in contact with that. Can I go out a little further so that just the tip of it touches, or you know, it's all the way in. You know, you'll see that the sun gear, as long as the sun gear is turning, it's forcing the this horn ring here to turn with it, okay, because of friction. Now, what that does is, let's say you have the solenoid on, the solenoid is not able to engage. It's not able to lock this because the horn is turning it, it's preventing it. Now, for a split second, let's say the rotation reverses. As soon as that happens, you know, there's a spring here. The solenoid, it's not just a direct solenoid, it's a spring activated as well. So, you know, it's not like if it's on, you're damaging it. You know, it can be, it's actually engaged while it's not able to actually, you know, retract and you know, come in and come out. But as soon as that happens, as soon as the rotation changes, let's say it's turning like that, okay? Now, for whatever reason that I am going to tell you later, we're going to get to that. This changes. There, snap ring, the pawl is able to go in, but it's got to be, you know, very synchronized. So at that instant, you see now it went in. Now it's locked. Now the that blocker gear is not it's unable to turn anymore. Now, if that were to happen, okay, two things would happen. If actually, okay, let's see. I think we can. Okay, before I get into that, let's see the effect on the shift rail here. Everything back. Okay, so if the pawl is engaged. Put everything together here. Let's say I push the pawl in. You know what? I'm just going to move this out of the way here so that you can see. But just imagine that it's actually controlling the sun ring here. So normally it's like that. And okay, one more thing. On this shift rail right here, there's a long spring that keeps it, that pushes it that way. Okay, towards the adapter housing here. Okay, I can't show it to you because it's inside the case, but you know, if you really want to see it, just watch the other videos on the studying the Borg Warner T96 Overdrive playlist. It's on that playlist. But anyway, there's a spring here, so the normal position is pushing it that way. Now, when it's like that, you can easily push the pawl in and out. In, there it goes in. Sorry, actually. Oh yeah, one more thing, hang on. On the other transmission, this pawl, the slot has to face upwards. I think. Not sure, it might be different on different transmissions. So on this one, the shift rail hole is actually below the pawl, and others I think it might be on the top. I've read that somewhere. So, you know what, I'm just going to remove the blocker ring here just so that you can see.